The Evergreen bomber, B-52 Stratofortress. Do you recall the days when the defense sector could actually produce aircraft? Not only construct aircraft, but also make them in bulk? Of course you don't. You probably weren't even born when the US could genuinely make strong, reliable, and reasonably priced airplanes. The aircraft was created because military aircraft have since become very intricate, and the defense industries have become so resistant to outside factors over time. The B-52, often known as the Buff or Big Ugly Fat and Effort, is the only band you need to consider. During the time, the United States Army Air Forces needed to increase the capabilities of its bomber fleet. The B-52 Stratofortress was born in 1945. The first Stratofortress aircraft were delivered to California's Castle Air Force Base's 93rd Bomb Wing in 1955. The nuclear-capable B-52 served as the United States' primary means of deterring the Soviet Union during the Cold War. B-52s were on permanent airborne alert from 1960 to 1968. They were designed to fly deep into Soviet territory to target cities and industries with nuclear missiles. Over 699 of the bombers were produced by Boeing between 1951 and 1963. Furthermore, the Air Force intends to continue using the Buff well into 2049 and beyond. That indicates that by the time the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq have reached their halfway points, bombers designed during the Truman administration would still be dropping warheads on targets. Air Force magazine reports that the B-2 Spirit and B-1 Lancer, which debuted between 1980 and 1989, will retire sooner than anticipated, around the years 2030 to 2035. Fortunately, the large bomber never deployed a nuclear weapon during a battle. However, it did participate in a lot of combat throughout the Vietnam War. With the knowledge gained during the Vietnam War, America started looking for a B-52 replacement. The XB-70 Valkyrie and the F-111 Aardvark were intended to replace the Stratofortress, but neither plane lived up to the expectations. With ongoing modifications, the B-52 continued to be a part of America's nuclear triad even after the B-1 Lancer's introduction. The final B-52s produced in 1965 are still in use and are expected to continue until at least 2045. Okay, enough small talk. Let's go explore the second oldest B-52 Stratofortress. You can't miss this monstrosity out front if you've ever been near this aircraft. However, you might not know some of this aircraft's key characteristics. For instance, consider the wingspan. That's 185 feet broad to be precise. For the purpose of comparison, that is almost 2 B-17 bombers from World War II. What the heck is that? Much crazier in length. She is 9 feet longer than our B-1A Lancer, measuring 150.9 feet long. The B-52B included a radar gun sight and a quadruple 50 caliber machine gun turret. The 20mm cannon and 20mm Gatling gun were used by the B-52 as it grew older and more complicated. Did you know that the B-52 bomber holds the record for the largest aircraft to have an aerial kill? It's true. The crew of the Diamond Lil came across a MiG-21 fighter on December 24, 1972, over North Vietnam, and the rear gunner brought it down with its 4 50 caliber machine guns. Now, you'll notice that it lacks a spacious compartment around the rear gunner. You'll probably also note that there isn't an ejection seat. How then did the pilot escape? Guess what though? The soldier just had to dive out because the grip at the back of the turret, which is supposed to be for an ejection seat, caused the turret's entire end to fall away from the plane. You should know a few things about the B-52 as we tour it, like the fact that it is 64 years old. The B-52 community has a slogan that reads, "That is your grandfather's B-52." So it's possible that pilots today operate the same aircraft as their fathers did. No other aircraft in the American arsenal can compare to its heritage. So let's talk about the position of the navigator. The black hole is a geographical location. You can see that there aren't many options for seeing out of these little windows. The radar navigator is over to the right. The radar navigator was known as the bombardier in 1950s terminology. If you look at some of the equipment nearby, you can find special weaponry in the SM lock and an internal bomb indicator light control. The bombardier would also utilize the radar screen to determine the location of the target and the precise time to drop. The B-52 was designed to fly directly into the Soviet Union and destroy big factories and cities. The Soviets, however, had an incredible anti-aircraft system set up with AAA batteries, which are anti-aircraft artillery with SAMs, and they knew we were definitely coming. The surface-to-air missile posed the main danger. They had the incredible SA-2, which was available. For us, it wasn't that successful, but the Soviets performed quite well. The arsenal thus present to neutralize that danger. The ALQ-117, a set of electronics that could essentially prioritize any threats coming at this jet, was one of the tools at its disposal. It was even claimed to operate automatically and miraculously. The Buff, the U.S. military's longest-serving combat aircraft, is evidence that little is better when it comes to bells and whistles. With the introduction of GPS-guided missiles, the B-52's original purpose as America's nuclear bomber was replaced with a new one: close air support. A payload of 70,000 pounds of bombs and missiles can be carried by the Buff, which has been of assistance to troops engaged in battle in Afghanistan and Iraq. Even though the B-52 has been updated over the years, it still uses technology from the 1950s and 1960s. This makes it very different from the Air Force's newest planes. One thing that helps the B-52 last longer is that bombers pull less G-force than fighters, which are made to yank and bank. Also, many bombers didn't fly many missions because they had been on alert for years with Strategic Air Command, which was the predecessor to U.S. Strategic Command. Even though it is very old, the B-52 and the B-21 Raider, the Air Force's newest bomber, are likely to keep doing nuclear missions. In the end, the Air Force plans to buy 100 B-21s, which will begin flying around the middle of 2020. Thanks to improvements in fighters and air defense systems, the B-52 can shoot standoff conventional and nuclear missiles from far away without putting itself in danger. During the attack on Syria on April 13th, the B-1 demonstrated how this may be done by firing cruise missiles at targets while outside Syrian airspace. The B-52 has helped commanders in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan because it can carry a lot of weapons and fuel and can stay in one place for a long time. It also has the firepower to move U.S. troops and their allies out of danger. As documented by the U.S. Air Force's Central Command, the 23rd Bomb Squadron broke the B-52's previous record for continuous missions set during Operation Linebacker in 1971 to 1973 by gliding 400 straight sorties against ISIS and Taliban targets during its 2017 rotation to the Central Command Theater of Operations. The 69th Expeditionary Bomb Squadron, which docked in the theater in September 2017 and didn't want to be outdone, flew 834 B-52 missions. The bomber's ruggedness and robustness, the record-breaking rotations made by Air Force Materiel Command show how hard it has worked over the years to keep the bomber in good shape and how dedicated the airmen are to keep the B-52 in the air. That's it on the Evergreen bomber B-52 Stratofortress. Have you ever considered going inside the aircraft before now? Would you love to fly it one day? Let us know your observations and thoughts in the comment section below. If this video was insightful for you, then go on and like this video. Please kindly subscribe to our channel and click on the bell button for more of our updates.